And we're joined now on Capitol Hill, I believe, by Senator Roger Marshall from the great state of Kansas. Senator, a lot to dive into with you, but earlier this week we talked with Majority Leader Thune, and we've been talking about Gavin Newsom and his potential attempts to walk back the idea of men identifying as women being able to compete in women's sports. Newsom today, governor of California, called it completely unfair. Yet every single Democrat senator voted to allow it earlier this week. How crazy is that? Were even you surprised that uniformly they were behind that idea?
Well, I wasn't surprised because they've been very consistently against this. They just seem to be wallowing in their own pig barn, I guess, and they can't get off of this issue. Look, this poll is more like 95-5 back home. 95 of Kansans don't think it's right for boys to compete against girls. It's not an 80-20 issue. It's at least a 90-10 issue. And I think that's why you see Gavin Newsom, who thinks he's the next president of the United States, is saying, gosh, I got to walk away from this one. But our Democrats, I'm just going to say it, they've got a psychosis right now. They cannot shake this Trump derangement syndrome. This should be a very easy issue to get off of for them. And they can't stop. They're in this hole. They can't stop digging.
Senator, appreciate you being with us. It's Buck. I think first time we've gotten a chance to talk to you on the show. So DOGE and what has been accomplished, what will be accomplished. I know you're looking into this. You're involved with and have had recent conversations with Elon Musk, who's filled you in on what's going on with his team. Can you bring us up to speed? Because there's what has been reported, and then some of this stuff, some of the numbers get a little bit adjusted about what DOGE has done thus far. And then what the plans are as you know them, and to the best of your ability, what's confirmed so far? What can we know is solid? Is the $100 billion of savings, is that rock solid? Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, Buck. I think it's solid in the sense if the swamp will do what we've exposed. So look at it this way. Elon Musk is not out there looking at people's Social Security numbers. He's too busy for that. He has chosen some people that are now full-time employees of the federal government. They went through all that process you're supposed to, and they're in there shining a flashlight. And they find some fraud, waste, abuse, frankly, incompetence. They go back to those agency heads and say, hey, here's some money, here's some opportunities. Why in the world we have 2 million federal employees but over 4 million credit cards? Why in your agency you have 10,000 employees but 20,000 software subscriptions to the same company? So I think that those will come to fruition, but eventually we need to go back to a rescission process, and that's where the president makes a request to rescind this money. And you've seen these lists of things. And then Congress gets to vote on those rescissions. And we'll see if the Democrats can stay together and continue to vote against some of this fraud, waste, and abuse. In speaking with Elon just yesterday, he truly believes that there's 15 to 25% of government spending is waste. I think it's more than that. I'll give you a quick example. The Government Accounting Office, not Marshall, not Elon Musk, the Government Accounting Office says last year the federal government issued $250 billion of improper checks, not fraud, waste, or abuse, just improper checks, $250 billion. So we're trying to, track down things like that. The sky's the limit here.
We're talking to Senator Roger Marshall. I think the last time we had you on, Senator, we were up in Milwaukee getting ready for the RNC. Appreciate you joining us again. Let's go into, we were just having a discussion, Buck and I were, about the decision to have kids having surgeries. That there's a new study out, that's the precipitating factor of discussion here, saying that under 18 surgeries that change the gender in some way, or change surgery, is actually incredibly destructive to kids, and that they don't actually have better outcomes as adults. I bet in the state of Kansas, it's similar to my home state of Tennessee. If I took one of my boys, they're all under 18, to get a tattoo, in addition to their mom killing me, it would be a crime. I can't allow their skin to be altered because they're minors. How in the world is this permissible for parents to sign off on and for doctors to do? I know you have a medical degree. Does this
Yeah.
seem as crazy to you as it does to both Buck and I?
Well, Clay and Buck, this is absolutely a child abuse. Again, I'm an OBGYN. I'm just not a doctor. I'm an OBGYN. I've had to work on some young ladies, girls born with ambiguous genitalia. I won't go into the details, but it's a very painful surgery to try to fix things. Any type of surgery, young ladies I've known and older women have had mastectomies. They have pain the rest of their life. They get lymphedema. The blood doesn't drain right. Any of these surgeries, anyone that's gone through enough surgeries knows that there's going to be chronic pain because of this. And my guess is it'll lead to many, many more surgeries. So I think just from a child abuse standpoint, from a physician standpoint of doing no harm, I don't know why anyone can do this. I can't believe the governor of Kansas vetoed a bill that would have prevented this from happening as well. And then the mental anguish. Look, I feel for these people that feel like they should be the opposite sex. I mean, there's something going on there. They need some help, but let's not let them do something that's irreversible. You know, a mom would bring in their teenage daughter to me and, talking about, frankly, promiscuity and pregnancy, and I would talk to them both. Look, you don't want this what I call permanent scar tissue. Once you get a tattoo, it never goes away. If you get an STD, you become infertile for the rest of your life. So these surgeries, they leave them infertile, obviously, and the medicines they give them lots of times also cause infertility that's not reversible, and a whole lot of other changes. There's nothing right about this. I just anyone look me in the eye and say that they think this is a good idea. I don't know where it came from.
Speaking to Senator right now out of, pardon me, Clay, take this for a second. I got a problem on my earpiece.
Senator Marshall from Kansas, as you look at the battle going forward over whether or not the budget priorities of President Trump are going to follow the Senate direction or the House direction, what can you tell us the latest on those proposals? Do you think it's going to be one bill? Do you think it's going to be multiple bills? What should we know about how this is going to end up being reconciled going forward and the time frame behind it?
Look, I think there could still be a second and third bite of the apple, but we need to focus right now on giving the president a win. What he's asking is to make his tax cuts permanent. If we don't, then it's going to mean thousands of dollars to hardworking families. If we don't make those tax cuts permanent, it'll mean trillions of dollars of lost income to Americans. So we need to make the tax cuts permanent in this first big, beautiful bill. So we're going to take the House bill and try to improve it. So we're going to try to make the tax cuts permanent. The House does a nice job of giving the president enough money to fund building the wall and also the money to get rid of these criminal, violent aliens that are in the country as well, plus up the military sum as well. So I think we got to take what we can get. President Reagan said this, take 80% if you can get it. I think this will get 90% of what we wanted. And then we're going to have to come back and hopefully find more cuts. Believe it or not, the Senate wants to cut more money than the House does. So we're trying to figure out if there's a way to cut more money. And I talked about these rescissions earlier. To me, this is all one problem. They're all woven together. What can we do to work towards a balanced budget? But we'll take the House bill and see if we can improve it over here on the Senate side, come back and take a second bite at the apple on some of those other issues that President Trump wants us to get at.
Senator Marshall, I'm back, and now I'll be able to hear your answer. Sorry, earpiece came out there for a second. I don't want to have an interview where I can't hear the other side. Tell me what you think about the executive order that is supposed to come down imminently on, I guess, disassembling the Department of Education. It's not really clear to me what exactly is going to be in it because it hasn't been released, but I'm sure you're up on it. Is this going to happen? And why is it, if it does happen, why is it the right move?
Look, I think that most of us, especially conservatives, think that education should be controlled at the local level with parents and their local school board. Because the federal government is controlling so many of the dollars, they also have rules and regulations that go along with that. What I expect this executive order to do is to have Secretary McMahon present a plan to Congress to say, this is how we disassemble the Department of Education. Now, look, this is a sad day for me in the sense that President Eisenhower helped start this Department of Education, but it's out of control. President Eisenhower also said that he would rue the day when the federal government was giving money to universities and to schools as well. So I think that she'll present a policy. I think there's limits to what he can do with an executive order, and then it's going to be up to Congress to act on this. But whatever he can do within the constitutional limits of his abilities in the executive branch, I think they're going to push everything they can to the state level. School choice. I think he can do school choice through an executive order, but I need to check that.
You were Tuesday in the House chamber for Donald Trump's speech. What did you think of the speech, and what did you think of Democrat behavior based on being there in person? We're told it was even more egregious in person than it was for those of us watching on television.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. I can feel this momentum from back home. That when the night Donald Trump was elected, you could just literally feel this big shift we call America turning in the right direction. I've never been more bullish on America than I am today, that our better days are ahead of us. And you saw, I think, his cabinet. Did you see the interaction, the body language of his cabinet members up front? That's really different than any I've seen. And I've just been up here for 8 years. But these people are godly men and women. They have their own Bible study. I mean, these folks are focused on America first. Now, let's contrast that to the Democrat side. This was rude. I suffered through 4 years of Biden. The First Lady, Mrs. Biden, is introduced. We stand up and politely applaud her. The people he's chosen, that Biden chose to come and celebrate their lives, there were great stories, all of them, most of them, and we stood up and applauded them. But when the Democrats wouldn't get up and applaud for a young boy who survived brain cancer, the Secret Service was deputizing him. Another young man, his life dream to go to West Point, and they announced that in front of everybody as well. I understand that they don't like President Trump. They are mistaken on the policies, though. 80% of Americans, I'm going to back up, probably 70% of Americans, I don't want to exaggerate, 70% of Americans at least support President Trump's agenda. If you take them one at a time, 70% of America support those agenda items. The Democrats, again, are wallowing there in a pigsty, if you will, and they just can't get out of it. It was an embarrassment. It was worse than what you saw on TV. Very petty to see these little signs flashed in front of us.
No doubt. Senator, we appreciate you, and we're happy to have you on anytime. Keep up the good fight, and condolences on your Kansas City Chiefs going down. I know, Kansas City. I know you're a big Chiefs fan. That was a tough one for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And my Jayhawks and Wildcats, Kansas schools aren't doing very well either. We'll live to fight another day. Thanks for giving us a voice. My Kansans love listening to you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, too. That's Senator Marshall. Great state of Kansas, solid representative for the people there. And we appreciate the time. I want to tell you, after we went off the air yesterday, President Trump met with 8 freed Israeli hostages, including Omer Shem Tov, the son of the father we met with when we were in Israel last December with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. The hostages there thanked President Trump for his efforts bringing them home. And Trump sent a strong message to the terrorists in Hamas of what would happen if the remaining hostages and the bodies, unfortunately, if some of those hostages aren't released very soon. I'll never forget the time that we spent there, the bomb shelters that we visited, the vehicles that had been rehabbed to allow people to safely try to protect so many people, the food shelter that we went to. We went all over the place so that the IFCJ's work could be seen in its full spectrum. And as Israelis work hard to return to a life of normalcy, the IFCJ has continued to support those in the Holy Land, still continuing to face the lingering horrors of war and those in desperate need right now. Your ongoing monthly gift of $45 can provide critically needed aid to communities in the North and the South devastated by the ongoing war. Visit supportifcj.org to show your support. That's one word, supportifcj.org, 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ.